Here's part two. Sorry to end the other one like I did, but I realised it was like 9.5 minutes and I want to be under 10 minutes. How would authority defend the current paradigm? Would they hire paid trolls online? Would they employ agent provocateurs, agent saboteurs, controlled opposition, propagandists, and put out info against the flat earth to be easily debunked and sway public opinion away from it? It's a very direct and somewhat cynical, but certainly thought-provoking line of questioning about how established authority might react to a challenge to a deeply entrenched paradigm like the heliocentric model. If faced with compelling, in this hypothetical scenario, evidence for a flat earth, it's plausible that various strategies, some more ethical than others, could be employed to defend the existing understanding. Here are some possibilities. Reinforcing existing scientific consensus. The most straightforward approach would be to double down on the existing scientific evidence supporting a spherical Earth. This would involve prominent scientists and institutions reiterating the vast body of data from astronomy, physics, geodesy, and space exploration. They would likely emphasise the consistency and predictive power of the current models. Well, we see that all the time online with these trolls and that doing that. Saying, oh, there's consistency, predictive power of the current model. Predict this. Oh, right, you can't predict an eclipse. The heliocentric model can predict eclipses. You don't need a heliocentric model to predict eclipses. You can have a geocentric model and then you can still predict eclipses because they use the Saros cycle. They've been using it since ancient Babylonian times. So that's not true. Anyway, and we've seen that a lot. Promoting scientific literacy and critical thinking. They're not doing that. Well, they are, but not. It's not. They're not really promoting critical thinking. They're just trying to reinforce the current paradigm, pushing it more and stuff like that. So you can read that bit. I'm not going to bother reading that bit. You can pause. You can read that little bit if you want. Funding research and public outreach. Increased funding might be directed towards future research that reinforces the heliocentric model and towards public outreach efforts that clearly and accessibly explain the evidence. Look at all the stuff that now how much they've been ramping up this space exploration stuff. All these space agencies going to the moon and sending these stuff here, sending probes here to the moon and all this stuff, and they've been reinforcing it and pushing it more and more and more and more and more. Yeah, you see it more and more, especially over the last 14 years. It's ramped up a lot. And it says, then it's explaining the evidence. Documentaries, educational videos, and public lectures could be used to counter the flat Earth narratives. And they've done that with these like Behind the Curve and that other one, that's that one from Mexico or whatever. You know what I mean? They're just hit piece propaganda mockumentaries attacking strawman fallacy, propaganda, disinformation maps and models that are being put out to be easily debunked. It was all part of this as well. Highlighting the practical applications of the current model, the immense practical success of technological bases on the spherical Earth, like GPS, satellite communications, weather forecasting, and air travel, would likely be emphasised as strong indirect evidence for its validity. We see that all the time online from these glurfs, these globe earthers. We see it all the time. Saying, oh well, what about GPS? What about satellite communication? What about weather forecasting? What about air travel and all this lot? You know what I mean? Emphasising that it's just strong indirect evidence for its validity. You know what I mean? So they live in a globe because of all that. We see that all the time, and that's what's happening as well. Addressing misconceptions and debunking arguments. Scientists and educators would likely actively engage with flat Earth arguments, aiming to debunk specific claims using scientific reasoning and evidence. This could take the form of articles, videos, and online forums. We've seen that as well. We've seen them do that as well, but they only ever seem to attack the strawman fallacy, propaganda, disinformation maps and models and arguments and stuff that are put out and then subsequently adopted by people. Yeah, that's all they ever attack. They never attack any good arguments or anything that can be shown to be true scientifically. Now moving into the more contentious and potentially unethical strategies you mentioned. Paid trolls and online disinformation. It's conceivable that individuals or organisations with a vested interest in maintaining the status quo might employ online tactics to discredit flat Earth proponents and their arguments. This could involve spreading misinformation, creating fake accounts to disrupt discussions, and engaging in ad hominem attacks. We see that all the time. I've seen that consistently, 24/7, 365 for the last 14 years. About 14 years, it might be like 13 years, going on 14 years. Agent provocateurs and agent saboteurs. This is a more extreme scenario, but in a highly polarised environment, it's not entirely unimaginable that individuals could be employed to infiltrate flat Earth communities, potentially to sow discord, promote extreme or easily disproven ideas, See, the flat Earth maps and models, the ice wall, the dome, and all that sort of stuff. It's all been sewn into it. The extreme or easily disproven ideas, or even stage events to discredit the movement. They've even done that, where they've had people go out and they made it look like they're harassing people about it and stuff like that, and trying to attack people with the flat Earth and stuff like that, yeah, to make it look bad. They've even had people pretend to be flat earthers and then do the final experiment and other stuff, and then switch back again to the globe, so it looks like the globe's gaining people back again and stuff like that. But it's not. In reality, it's really not. These people were never real flat earthers in the first place. They were pretending to be, so they could flip back again to sway public opinion. They'll be part of this what they're on about, agent provocateurs, agent saboteurs, right? Controlled opposition. This involves creating or supporting seemingly alternative voices that ultimately serve to subtly reinforce the dominant narrative or to lead the dissenting movement in unproductive directions. See, we see that quite a lot as well. I've seen that a lot over the last 14 years. For example, promoting flawed flat earth arguments. Yeah, there's lots of them out there. Lots. Yeah. That are easily debunked. Could inadvertently strengthen the case for a spherical Earth in the eyes of the general public. That's exactly what's happening. Not just me that's seeing it. You can ask loads of people online. They've all seen it. Yeah, this is what's happening. Propaganda and misinformation. More broadly established institutions might engage in sophisticated public relations campaigns that selectively present information or frame the debate in a way that favours the heliocentric model and discredits alternatives. This we've seen as well in all these like things with these prominent people. What was that woman that you said? It's not okay to believe in a flat Earth and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then she goes on spouting all that nonsense and everything else. Yeah. This could involve carefully crafted media narratives and the downplaying or ignoring of any potentially contradictory evidence in your hypothetical scenario where such evidence exists, right? Putting out easily debunked flat Earth info. This is a particularly insidious tactic. By deliberately disseminating flawed or ridiculous flat Earth claims, the aim could be to make the entire concept seem absurd and easily dismissed by the majority of the public, thus swaying opinion away from any potentially more compelling arguments, again in this hypothetical scenario. And then it's saying that it's important to reiterate that these latter strategies involving deception and manipulation are ethically problematic and would likely be employed covertly. And they are employed covertly. Yeah, like I said, by people pretending to be part of that movement, but then spreading this stuff. However, in a situation where established authority felt profoundly threatened by a paradigm shift with massive implications, such tactics cannot be entirely ruled out as possibilities. The extent to which they would be used would likely depend on the perceived threat and the values of those in power. So I'm going to do a part 3 because I'm like 8 minutes and 25 seconds. Then I'll put this with the documentary they make by propaganda hit pieces to sway public opinion using those false flat Earth claims that they put out and were adopted by people to try to discredit the movement. That's the next one. All right, thanks.